Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the IDA International Exchange webinar. On behalf of IDA Awards and Nippon Paint, I would like to welcome every single one of you. So this is a space where we learn what we don't know and reinforce things that we already know. Whether you think colors and coatings is your cup of tea or not, having these insights and tips will definitely help you make your design process more fun and practical. For those who are keen to join this year's IDA Challenge, we'll cover a bit about post-pandemic trends that has helped us inspire the trend beyond colors and also this year's challenge. Definitely something worth pondering about. I do have a video to talk about briefly what the trend beyond colors is all about. To the video. Whoosh. So from the short Trend Beyond Colors video, we learn about narratives and many different color palettes that is leading towards the big idea of what reset is all about, especially alive after the pandemic. But speaking of colors, I'm definitely no expert. That's why we are here. We have Jolene, who leads the color portfolio at NIPSEA. Hi, Jolene.
Hello.
Hello. And then we have Wei Ling, who is very experienced in color development at the Nippon Paint Malaysia. Hi, Wei Ling.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you on behalf of all our IDA students and mentors all around the world. So in short, I'm not good with colors, so I've gathered two people who are experts, very good at it, so they'll give us and show us different aspects of colors and coatings and how is it relevant to you and your users. So there are three parts today. We'll learn about the trend beyond colors and its intended impact, how colors come to life in the real world, like how to actually make these colors work for you, and lastly, how do we become more conscious and mindful in our design process. So Nippon Paint has launched their 2022 color trend on the whole concept of reset. I think it's also partly because maybe we're looking forward to a life after the pandemic. I wouldn't know because Jolene took over the color portfolio. She's the expert here. So I would like to throw the question to Jolene to help us understand what is the curation process, and in your opinion, why is it important for consumers and designers?
Thanks, Brendan. So, Trend Beyond Colors was really very much an interesting process because yearly we would actually launch things that are trendy and all. But then when the pandemic hit us, we realized that we needed to relook at things. And the brief was actually a very interesting one. We were working with Colour Hive, a UK-based agency who we've been working with, and they too find that it was very interesting to actually rewrite the brief to actually match back to what we were all going through. So at a point we realized also that no matter who you are, no matter what you're working with or what you're working for, we were all going through the pandemic the same way. We were stuck at home, we were experiencing things very differently, we were seeing things differently. So then the color trend that we launched was curated to how we can get out of the pandemic in a more optimistic manner.
I know that I read the book briefly, and I know there's like many different major colors and palettes. What's your personal favorite, Jolene? Or you love all of them? I'm sure you love all of them.
I love all of them. I do not discriminate. I love all the colors.
I know, I'm not asking you to discriminate. I'm saying if you were to choose one to reflect how you feel today.
Well, okay, personally, I'm not a pink person, but there is this particular color, one of the key colors called Vintage Vase. It's actually a clay-like neutral pink, which really looks, it's not too pinky, but at the same time, it really reflects a very neutral vibe. So I'm always about vibes, you know, where at the end of the day is color, how do you interact with colors? And this particular pink actually gave me this very, very serene, very calm feeling as well. So I think that particular pink represented one of the key pillars we have, which is actually restore. So restore here is something that all of us were trying to do because we were stuck at home and we were, you know, stuck in our whatever room that we were in. We were working from there, we were eating from there, and then we decided to do a makeover. You know, we do little bits and pieces of things to do that. So that itself gives us a bit more cozy feeling, you know, being in that space, even if you're stuck in it. Yeah.
Love that. So Wei Ling, you don't have to pick a specific trend beyond color, but how are you vibing today? What's your color?
Well, because I worked with color for many years and I always deal with colors. Right?
Probably the wrong question to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah, actually I love all the colors.
Yeah.
And for me, particularly I would like more natural tone colors. Makes
Natural
me
tone.
feel more close to the nature.
More close to nature.
Yeah, close to the earth, so that you will feel more comfortable and restoring much. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my vibe is eternally right before the sun sets. You know, that orangey, pinkish sky. Yeah, definitely not warm, not hot on your skin, and then just very comfortable to the eyes. Yeah, I'm definitely always that color. I think if I should paint my house in that color, but anyway.
You can look up, it's under the reflect pillar actually.
The reflect pillar.
Yeah.
Okay, we should definitely check it out. Check out the link here. But yeah, we'll go to that later. So this is where I tie back your works to the IDA challenge this year. It's called Converge, which the main theme is Converge, where two or more elements come together to help solve a bigger problem in society through design. I mean, that's what IDA is all about. It's about raising the next generation of socially conscious designer. So this year's theme happened to be similar, I would say partly inspired by Jolene's work. It's called Pushing the Reset Button, where we want designers to take on the challenge to think about rejuvenation taking place in urban life, in bustling cities. What if there's, in the absence of nature, what else can we do with colors? What else can we do with coatings? How do we then create a scalable solution to help the world rejuvenate and heal, especially moving on from the COVID-19 pandemic? So there are many post-pandemic trends in the entry kit if you have downloaded it from our website, but there are two particular topics that I want to cover, which is each of your expertise. Of course, we can mix and match how it works. Maybe I'll start with I'll start with Jolene first. Because, yeah, you know, Jolene, you started the whole conversation. I want to talk a bit more about wellness, whether it's physical, mental, or for the soul. From a wellness point of view, in your perception or in your work, in your line of work, how does color promote holistic wellness in users? And you know, how does it work?
Okay, so for wellness, I think it's represented in a very big range.
Correct, definitely.
But for what we do, because we are from the paint industry, color is always very related to spatial design. You know, the space that you're in, the space that you interact with. So at the end of the day is when you actually use colors, there must be a purpose. You know, you want to color with a purpose. You want to make sure that the color makes sense to the space that you're in. So as much as we always say that colors can be very subjective, you know, it's very up to who, you know, up to why I like it or what makes me feel. At the end of the day is when you have an objective in mind, it helps you design better, you know. So it could be a homeowner, it could be a designer, but at the end of the day is we know what that space is supposed to do for us. So can we then use that objective and find the right color or the shade to actually represent that particular space purpose?
So I think what I hear from you is really perhaps in our creative design process, you don't put color per se as an afterthought, but you try to put it at the beginning with more intention on the end goal, what we're trying to bring out through our design, if I hear you right.
Yes, that is very ideal because you mentioned about wellness, right? Wellness has to start from the beginning. You know, it has to work for you from the beginning, because you don't want to do something and then realize that you put in the wrong color and it just totally clashes with everything that you're supposed to be doing with it.
Yeah.
You don't feel connected to that color, or you feel that the color doesn't represent correctly what you're doing. So what we wanted to also promote with this webinar is also because we wanted designers to be more conscious, you know, be more conscious about what is it that you're designing. It's not just being creative for the sake of being creative. It's not just achieving an aesthetic look, but it is also with an objective.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is when you don't have an objective, you lose your sense of purpose, and you realize that, you know, you're only trying to do things after that, which is what you said, you know, afterthought, which is actually too late. Then you
Correct.
realize that the wellness part has not been met, because, you know, it didn't start from the beginning. It
Yeah.
was a later thing.
Correct.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, we brought this up, guys. So we brought this up because I've been with IDA Awards for 5 years, and we do see, not everyone, but we do see parts and parcels of our participants from around the world where you splash on color at the last minute before you come to the finals. Probably not the smartest way to do things. So it really is about really putting consideration of the objective, which ties into Wei Ling's expertise in terms of performance, right? How do we put in this consideration, or how would you advise young architects and designers? How do we put more strategic and conscious decisions and considerations when we are about to specify a paint, even if it's just for a design concept? Yeah.
For us, right? Now, how it says that actually colors, we can have different performance. The performance is actually different from interior and also exterior use. Now, you will see that designs of the colors for exterior use, or what we call it for the facade use, should be not really says that should be, but the colors is good for choosing the a bit dull or close to the earth tone color because of the color pigment used. And you will see that there are some color pigments is actually suitable for the exterior due to the UV exposure, and then that's why it is more long lasting compared to that some of the vibrant color that you want to put outside, but then within 1 year then it faded. Right?
Yeah, actually, there was this thing that I really learned from Wei Ling last time, because I love colors, right? And I was just going all about with colors, but Wei Ling was the one who really showed me that you know, why we say performance is because the exterior environment is a lot more challenging.
Correct.
You know,
correct.
there's so much consideration, and I think the biggest enemy to color is actually UV. Yeah, so like what Wei Ling was mentioning about, you know, the color pigment and all those things. So Wei Ling has to learn, she has to really put together all this
the pigment combination
Yes.
to give you the best performance. In terms of for your interior use also, and also for the exterior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in both interior or exterior coating, the colors also different colors combination will plays a different roles. Yeah.
I'm sure UV aside, there are also a lot of other considerations. I think we can definitely dive into that spectrum of things. I'm also curious as well, when it comes to, it's just an open question, it just came to my mind seriously. So, you know, sometimes artists, spatial designers, we don't only do permanent buildings, we also do art installation, temporary structure. It's the consideration similar based on the scale, or like how does it work? Like, or generally it's just the same formula, whether UV is present.
It's the same. I think it's a similar approach. At the end of the day, is, you know, if your installation is it an interior or an exterior one? Because when you're putting it in an interior environment, it's protected to a certain degree, right? So you don't have as many considerations. But like what Wei Ling was saying, you know, in an exterior environment, facade colors play a very big role, because you want something to look good. It doesn't just look good on day 1 after painting, but it has to look good at day 100, day 1000. You know, you need to make sure that it still looks like what you were supposed to look like. So I think what we wanted to also share is that these are things that, I mean, yes, it's technical, but there is an important need for you to understand certain practical limitations that coatings come with. Because we can be colorful, we can put things anywhere and everywhere, but the thing is, we are dealing with paint. So how do you make sure that when you actually specify paint and specify the color, it does the right thing? You know, it's not just the right color, but it's also the right color for the right environment.
So why I brought it up is because I had a conversation with a professor in Hong Kong. He teaches architecture, and he's very interested to really show his students the behind the scenes, you know, how we select, how we produce, to what extent I don't know because I've never visited as well. But I think I think a lot of architectural and interior design students and lecturers, they're generally very curious on what really goes behind the scene. And I think by by having these kind of sessions, I think we are really giving people a peek, you know, into what you do on a daily basis. And I think that definitely helps set the tone, you know, how to be a better designer before you even graduate. So the next session, we'll talk about how to actually use colors in the real world, involving many elements. So the next session, we will, I wouldn't say interrogate, we will ask for insights from Jolene and Wei Ling. How does it actually work in the real world? So we come back later. Whoosh! So from what I've learned or hear so far, is really what we imagine and visualize, especially on paper and sketches, is probably never what we really get, especially when it comes to coatings, because I'm sure there's a lot of considerations involved in terms of choosing the right pigment for the right facade, for the right weather, for the right environment. I'm sure there's a lot of things that I don't know yet, so I just help me out, guys. To understand the practice of selecting the right color for spaces, right? I'm sure there's, you guys gave me a bunch of prompters that I really do need you to elaborate. The first one is on facade. Wei Ling, you mentioned about something organic, non-organic. Yeah, just help me.
All right. Talking about the organic or inorganic.
Yeah.
It's talking about the color pigment. Actually, color pigment mainly has two categories. One is organic and one is inorganic. But the organic is not as what the food that you think is organic is natural.
Oh, okay. So in my mind, I was thinking like whether the tomato is organic. Also, it's not that lah. Okay, okay,
It's
okay.
not that. The organic is the synthetic pigment, which is you look, it's really clean and very high saturated and very, very vibrant in colors.
Okay.
So the inorganic color pigments gives you about more to the, because inorganic here is the other way around from your food. It's actually a natural things, all right?
Okay.
A natural mineral from the earth that
Okay.
you can really get it. And that's why that actually the colors gives you is a bit dull, more dirty, right? Just like your muddy tone or whatever, right? So from these natural things is actually more stable, or what we call it more durable, right?
Okay.
For your exterior or UV exposure,
Okay.
right? Compared to the organic pigment or
Okay.
the very vibrant color. So that's why we comes up with the a collection of colors. We call it a facade colors collection, which is, though it is look a bit duller because we formulating, or we match it, we formulate the colors all with this inorganic pigment. So to ensure that the performance under the exterior is much more durable compared to what others can have.
That means the key consideration for facade, external especially, is the unit of indicator, like its stability, right?
Yeah, the UV exposure stability.
Yeah, so it's like SPF lah.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
It's exactly,
See, I get it.
You put
SPF.
makeup, is it?
like you know, like sunblock when you go to the beach.
Yes, that's exactly the same concept.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand that. That means high UV protection, aka SPF in makeup. It's basically more weather resilient. Yes.
Yes.
So okay, help me out with the weather component. Is there a huge difference if I am designing for a humid or non-humid, or a climate like four-season country, or like, you know?
Oh yes.
How does it work?
Yes.
The four-season country or climate or humid
Yeah.
things, right? It's actually more on your coating performance.
Okay.
All right.
Coating
So
performance.
if let's just say that you need to have the UV resistance or UV durability, it's on the colors, then it will more on the color pigments role itself.
Color pigments role. What does it mean?
Means that if let's just say that you need to have a vibrant red on your
Okay.
exterior,
I love
right?
red.
Then compared to your oxide red on
Okay.
your exterior, you will see that the oxide red and the vibrant red will have a different in color tone, of course.
Okay.
Then which one gives you the longest durability? Maybe your organic or the vibrant red, it can stand for within 1 or 2 years. Then
Okay.
it looks faded after that.
Mm-mm-mm.
All right, but then your red oxide red, which is the organic inorganic red,
Yeah.
then it can stand for 5, 6, 7, or even 10 years.
Mm-mm-mm.
You can still, the color still looks very good.
This reminds me of the question previously. Remember, I asked about what if it's a permanent building or if it's a temporary structure. So if I'm an artist or an architect and I want it, let's say it's a 6 months exhibition, then I can use the vibrant red lah, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I understand the performance, or I want to say how old is the paint, the durability of the paint, the stability of the paint.
Because at the end of the day, it's also as a brand, it's very important for us to also uphold a level of quality. So we have to make sure that we are able to offer you good colors, good coatings, and colors and coatings have to come together and work together.
Correct.
You know, because at the end of the day, you're designing something for the environment.
Yeah.
You know, it could be in Malaysia, it could be in the UK, because at the end of the day, the environment is always there.
Yeah.
And how do you work the design in the environment is very important.
Correct.
Right? So like what Wei Ling was sharing, you know, at the end of the day is how long you want it to last.
Yeah.
It matters.
Correct. This is one thing I've spotted as well. Remember we talked about color and coding being an afterthought in a lot of design processes, right? So I think if you really take a step back and you think about it earlier on in your design process, be it for IDA or for other challenges or for your actual design projects, if you think about it from the very beginning, I think you would make better decisions as you are progressing in your design. Yeah, I think this is something, pick it up, write it down somewhere. Yeah, I think it's important because sometimes I'm not a judge, I can't judge you, but I've been judging alongside the judges, right? So sometimes they are great designs, they're great concepts, right? But I feel like there's something missing. This could be one part that is missing, that you didn't put much consideration into. Like I have seen students, finalists from the past year, where they put full consideration for all 4 seasons. They are very weather ready, you know? And these are the things that I think judges would appreciate as well, or just people in general would appreciate, you know, the kind of user-centricity and that consciousness in that design process. So enough with the outside, let's go inside, because Jolene talked about this and I also don't understand. I'm a bit half blind, sometimes I can't tell things apart. So from an internal point of view, like let's say interior point of view, how does lighting and ambience, you know, how do we combine that with the right color to create the right kind of mood, you know, like maybe one of you can help me.
Okay, so I can elaborate a bit on this. So when it comes to the interior, right, it's a lot more fun because actually your choices of color is actually a lot more. You know, you can really go crazy with the colors. But there are a lot of factors that could affect the appearance of colors. You know, for example, lighting. You know, gone are the days where lighting was just white light and yellow light, right? Then suddenly they introduce you this cool light, warm white, and then yellow light. But now, when you actually design, you have LED coming into play. So you have different technologies that's affecting the environment of what kind of interior space and all this. So for example, if you pick white, you know, even white itself, the appearance will look one shade in a white light, but it will look a totally different shade in yellow light.
I was a victim of this. One day my toilet light broke, and then my landlord told me it's white. Then I went to buy a white. Turns out it wasn't white, it was warm white.
Yes.
So my toilet now has a different light. Just one. The others are the same.
It's always that same problem, you know, like when you go shopping and you try on this outfit in the fitting room, you look so good. But then when you try it back at home, you're like, how come the effect doesn't look the same?
Sometimes I wish I can travel with the lights from shopping malls. You know, they're just constantly around me.
Make you look good all the time, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's why designing for interior spaces, it's a lot more fun, definitely, but there are a lot of considerations. So one of it, like you correctly pointed out, was lighting. So lighting is also very important because as a designer, you don't just specify one part of the space.
Correct.
You have to design the whole space.
Yeah.
Right, so you have to make sure that the lighting that you choose makes your color choice look right.
Yeah.
You know, so even taking for example like white will look different under different kind of lightings.
Correct.
So you imagine other colors, the other colors will also look different. Even we have always come across people voicing out frustration, you know, they pick the gray, you know, but when they actually put it in the house, they say that it turns out brown, you know. So they go like, oh yeah, you know, in the shop I picked it as gray, but when I painted it at home, it's brown. So then when we actually look at it, usually in the shop, the dealer's shops or what, it's always white light, right?
Yes.
So the gray looks great. But when they paint it at home, the whole entire living room is yellow light.
Yep.
So suddenly everything turns brownish. So then they will say that the color is wrong, but actually it's not really so much on the color, but it's actually the lighting.
How the light bounces off the color.
Correct.
Right. I have I don't know if you would resonate with this with me. You know, there are many buildings and maybe art installations. They look wonderful in the morning.
Yes.
At night, it looks like a ghost house. I don't know.
Correct, which is why there's actually a lot of, even some of the mentors that you guys have, right?
Yeah.
If you look at their portfolios, I really appreciate portfolios that always show you what it looks like in the day and what it also looks like at night.
Correct.
So they have the day view and the night view.
Yeah.
So these are the considerations that they look at because they want the space to look good in the day, but also look good, or you know, it could be a totally different transformation to look good at night. So lighting itself plays a very big role. It affects the environment, it affects the appearance, it affects the ambience entirely.
Okay, got it. Try things on different lighting, right? Don't be fooled by the shopping mall light. I got you. Got it. You guys have to understand I'm not a designer. Yeah, I come from a different environment. I come from a different background, right? But yeah, I get what you mean. Really, it's putting more consideration into that as well. Especially, I think if your building is so-called biophilic or in the middle of a forest, I think the consideration points are even one step further and higher. Yeah. So that ties into my question to Wei Ling. Wei Ling, I know on a daily basis you do a lot of different portfolio and different jobs, but can you tell us how do you pick the right material and function and then put it together for your clients in order for them to deliver the final? So see, this is where Jolene mentioned as well. On paper, it looks like this. When it comes out, why like that?
So
yeah,
so this is always the issue Wei Ling always face.
Correct. So I'm just no, because I want Wei Ling to elaborate, and then maybe you can add on so that you guys don't repeat this mistake when you start practicing. Yeah.
I think the issue is always this. They always design on paper, translate it onto screen, and then they come to you with something printed, and then they tell you that the appearance doesn't look right.
Colors doesn't look
right, they
right?
can't find the right color to match their design.
Yeah.
So there's always
What is
this.
the trick here? Up your sleeve. Literally. What's the trick up your sleeve?
No. I think it's because mostly all the design is by using the software. Then it will prompt and show you the colors with the screen colors, which is with the RGB value.
Yep.
So it's mainly actually RGB value, and then the RGB, which is what we have printed onto the paper or the ink, or maybe they're printed out with a printer, right, is actually CMYK value.
Okay.
Right? So even CMYK and RGB also, you will see that although there is a same, it seems that converting with the same color value from RGB to CMYK, but then in actual printed onto the paper is actually different from what shown in the screen. So, and then it also there is a difference when it is in a coating itself, because with the coatings then we are using the CIE LED value, which is another type of value for us to do the color formulations in the coating itself. So that's why then to have the exactly 100% close match of what CIE LED value with the coating to your design from the RGB value is totally, we can say that it's very, very difficult to achieve. Yeah.
What if I'm a specifier, I'm a developer you talk about oxide rate and vibrant rate, right? I die one vibrant rate. How?
Now, we can say that you want to have the vibrant rate, right?
On the wall.
On the wall.
Exterior. How would you usually solve this kind of challenge?
Of course, one thing we need to upfront to tell a client says that with this a vibrant rate, and the durations that you can get is how long.
Okay.
All right, this is what you need to get to know. So the second thing is, if let's just say that the client is accept on the duration, it says that, oh, I can accept for only 2 years or only even 1 year, then it's enough for me. All right, then no issue. But then the other thing that we need to upfront tells it, in organic you will see that all the natural, just like your sunblock or your foundation, everything, right? It can cover your makeup very nice, to have a very nice base. So it means that actually it has a very good coverage or opacity. All right. So if let's just say that you want to have the very bright, vibrant rate, then you need to know that the opacity or the coverage may not achieve to what inorganic colors gives you. So it means that instead of maybe normal coating, you need to have 2 coats to cover, give you a nice color. But then with this organic vibrant color, then you might need to have 4, 5 coats. Or even you need to have an extra, we call it color undercoating to cover it. Then only you can apply this bright red.
So it literally is creativity comes with a price lah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, as designers, you know, as an architect, you know, you are not designing something for fun, for you know, don't know who, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is like what Wei Ling, actually there was one keyword I picked up. She mentioned client. At the end of the day, when you're doing something, you're designing towards a brief, right? And if you are aware of all this, you know, you want to design, you want to be a better designer, you want to be more conscious in your decision making, this is just really understanding the context. So when you actually design for your client's brief, there are things that you can also educate your client. You know, if you want something like this is the pros and cons. If you want something like that, these are the pros and cons. Which one are you going to, you know, accept? Because we also know that clients have different briefs, they have different budgets, they have different objectives as well. So at the end of the day is, we can do a lot of things. You know, at the end of the day is, do you want to pay the price for it? We even always have this question where, can we have, you know, a universal coating, you know, that just paints everywhere and anywhere and it will last forever? You know, yeah, it can be done. But the thing is, that means you're like putting every single form of technology into a can of paint, which could cost you 10 times the price. And will it be something that you're, you know, going to pay for? So there's a lot of, again, the consideration here for designers here is that at the end of the day is, when you want to design, don't just design on paper and on screen. You know, because when it comes back to the materials that you're looking at, you know, is of course not just coatings. There's so many other substrates that you have to look into. But I mean, for us, we are we are representing the coatings industry. The idea here is that how do you work within certain practical limitations of the coatings world, but still be able to be creative about it.
So how do I be practically creative?
And creatively practical.
Creatively practical, yes. So yeah, I think, that leads me to the last part is, I don't know if I'm using the right term or the right angle to it, is how can colors, and in your case coding, help spark creativity in designers? I'm not sure if I'm voicing this right. So it's basically like, how do we create this parameter that we can safely be creative in? I don't know, I'm putting it right.
If we try to understand you correctly, I think...
Maybe sparking is not the right word.
Put it this way. We don't want to come and tell you that, you know, this cannot, that cannot. We don't want to cram your style. We don't want to tell you don't be creative. You know, but when you learn to understand the science behind color, the science behind coatings, it makes you a bit more, I wouldn't say a bit more wise, but you have a certain level of knowledge that helps you design better, right? And design better meaning that you respect certain limitations that are out there. You know, working with metal, there are limitations. Working with glass, there's a limitation. So it's the same. Working with coatings also has certain limitations. But don't let that block your creativity. At the end of the day is, if you can't, you know, go through it, go around it. You know, so this is where we want to also. I think the idea here is really to just get you to understand that if you understand a little bit more of colors in a coatings perspective, you will realize that you are able to do things better. You are more conscious in your decision making.
Question. I don't think it's a question. I think it's a question. Let's say I am a architectural student or an interior design student, and assuming on campus these are things that I don't learn, where can I go get these information? Is it from Nippon Paint directly? Or are you guys gonna make me organize more sessions for you?
Most probably you can make Brendan organize it. So
okay, I can organize and I'll invite them back so that we can lock them down and, you know, I don't know, like...
well, honestly, there's a lot of things that you don't learn in universities, because I'm a product design student. I practice design, but it was only through working in the real world that I actually learned all these things. You know, so, but I mean, that's the idea of this webinar, right? We are offering you a platform where you can actually ask questions. Probably you may not know the right questions to ask, but we hope that the things we say actually does trigger certain curiosity in you. And yeah, I think we'll try and help
Yeah,
to
yeah.
answer.
Because especially for my IDA students, we're all around the world. There are like thousands of universities. They are all my partners, and they send us, great designers. So I'm sure a lot of people. Yeah, I think this is a good chance to get Nippon Paint to organize more of this kind of exposure, even to lecturers, fellow lecturers as well, mentors as well. I think it's a good thing to have. So points to consider from a more practical person here. Points to consider before I become creative or while I'm trying to be creative is budget. Who's going to pay the bill? Stakeholders, like who are the people involved, whether it's residents, whether it's commercial, or whether it's public infrastructure even.
Who are you designing for?
Who are we designing for, which is what we mean by socially conscious when we're designing, and also how do we negotiate with different parties in terms of putting these things together. Yeah, definitely. So if you have questions for Jolene and Wei Ling, this is a great time to ask. And if you've missed out or if you've rewatched this and suddenly something in you sparked, you can always reach out to us at the IDA platform, and then we're happy to compile, and then maybe we'll do more sessions for you because it's for you. So the more you ask, the more we give. Yeah, so the idea of inspiring, just give me 2 minutes for advertising time. How IDA Awards organize sessions and webinars is really based on your feedback. Yeah, it's based on the mentors and the lecturers and the students we work with worldwide. You tell us what you want, and then we will go and claw these experts to come in to share their insights and tips to you. So if you don't tell us what you want, we don't know what you need, and then we can't help you succeed as the next generation of amazing designers. So yeah, so that is for the session, and then we will now open the floor to Q&A.
All right, get ready. Live.
All right. So before we move into Q&A, I have to I have to explain what the word die means for those who are not from the Malaysia, Singapore region. Sorry, my inner Malaysian just came out. So the word die is literally die, like when you stop breathing. So the word die, it's a very local lingo of you insist on doing something even if people have advised you not to do it. For example, a tsunami is coming, people ask you, don't go for a swim, and then you want to go swim. Basically, yeah. So it's like persistence and insist of doing something you want to do. That's what die means for those who don't understand. Apologies if you don't understand. So yeah, back to Wei Ling and Joe. Wei Ling, you need to unmute first, so later you can just jump in. So I'll start with a simple question first. We talked about painting over substrate like SPF. How many layers is enough and how many is too many?
All right, so now, of course, the minimum, of course, just like whatever we want to do, the makeup or even the skincare, you need to have the foundation, which is the very good base preparation, which is we need a sealer or even a primer, which is considered your foundation. That foundation, of course, basically you need to have 1 or 2 layers. Then normal, what we say to put on your finishing coat or top coat or the colored coat will be 2 layers. So in total, 3 to 4 layers will be a normal condition. So if let's just say that you would like to, or you get some colors which is very vibrant or bright, then you may need to have additional coat because the coverage, or what we call it, the opacity is not to that extent to protect and to give you the final color that you need.
I see. Wei Ling and Joe, so is that why we don't see many colors on like big corporate buildings and residences? Because they're mostly brown and gray and like
Yeah.
so it's a budget issue lah.
Yes.
Not really a budget issue, but then that's the what we call it, the facade color range, where actually it can stand more long lasting. Okay, maybe 5 to 7 or 8 years protection to give you that color. So that is the facade range that we recommend.
I see. Joe, you want to say something just now, Jolene?
Oh, yeah, just to add on, at the end of the day, it's also because when you paint high-rise buildings, especially big scale projects, a lot of the costs also goes into the labor itself and the equipment. So the more time you spend on those, the more hours you put in, you would actually need to, of course, pay more. So sometimes the choice of color is that, let's just say if you go with this particular shades, you can get it done in 2 coats, like what Railing said, at least 2 coats. But if because of the choice of color, it requires more layers, which means you need to spend more hours for the painters to go back up and down, and means they have more time spent in using the machines, you know, the gondola and all these things. So of course, those are the things that adds on to the cost. So if let's just say you understand that this choice of color requires 3 layers, and you are paying for 3 layers, then that's fine. So it's just understanding the man hours needed as well. And that's what it means by managing within your budget.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just jump in
really?
a bit.
Correct,
Sometimes
yes,
actually, right, the main power costing is actually much more higher than your material cost.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, can you repeat?
The main power cost,
okay.
yeah, is actually much more higher than the material cost itself.
Yes, it's about sometimes 60-40. So 40% is material, 60% is actually all the other things.
Yeah.
So it could be, so like what Wei-Ling said, the labor and machine cost is actually more than the material cost.
Yeah. So with the right budget, we can be as ambitious as we want, as architects and interior designers, provided, you know, that our client is also supportive of the final decision. Yeah.
Yes.
I have the next question. Just now we mentioned a bit about, I know like Nippon Paint has different range of products in different countries. Can both of you elaborate about choosing the right kind of colors and paints when we are designing for, let's say, a hot and humid weather like Southeast Asia? Is there like any special thing, or the difference between like a 4-season country and a humid country? Yeah.
All right. The come back to it is actually on the this is not related, or what we said, it related too much on the color choices or the pigment itself. It is more related on the coating performance itself. So different country actually we are selling different performance coating, which is maybe some of the country is not suitable, that which is using the coating or material that in just like in Malaysia is using. So they may need to have a special coating at that point of view. So this is doesn't really play a lot on the coating type itself. I mean on the color pigment itself, but then it's the coating performance.
Performance based. Okay, got it. I also have one question just now. We mentioned about lighting earlier, and we talked about if you print it on ink on paper, it's different. Gray under a different light is different. So how do we best simulate different lighting and colors? Because, you know, like I guess if I'm a student or I'm a designer, I will be in front of my computer most of the time. So how do we do it? Is it like software simulation, physical tests, or do we observe how other people do it? What would your advice be? Like Joe, maybe Jolene, yeah.
Okay, so we understand that a lot of designing happens mostly on the computer. So you could be using your 3D software and all these things to generate the visuals. At the end of the day, that is how you actually put forth the proposal. But later on, when you go to the stage where you're doing specification, it's very important to choose the materials from the actual, what we call sample boards. Because let's just say if you were to pick a fabric color, what you're going to be doing is going to choose the colors from the swatches of the fabric, right? So same applies to paint as well. So have the real copy of the color fan deck, and from there, pick it under yellow lighting, under white lighting. For example, if in the office, most likely you have white lighting somewhere and yellow lighting somewhere. If you want to be sure, even for example, like our colleagues who in the R&D, when they actually have to do color selections for automotive, you will never see them sitting in a room picking it. they will always go outside. They will always pick it under the sun, because at the end of the day, your car is driven under that kind of environment. So they will actually do it that way. So if you're choosing something that's for exterior, just, take a few minutes outside and actually have a look under the actual environment, because the 3D software can simulate to the closest possible. But if you have the opportunity to do it in the actual environment, why not?
Yeah, this is very much like how a lot of our international panels and judges were talking about. They're hoping as well, the next generation of designers don't sit in front of our computer for too long. You also want to go out there and get your hands dirty a little bit, play with different materials, play with different kind of texture, to really get a feel of what you will be working on down the road. I have another question here. Color psychology is a really buzzword now. Everyone is using it. Everyone talks about it. I'm not sure if we are the expert to talk about it, but I just want to hear from you guys as well. Like a lot of people, when they come to color psychology, red is angry, orange is hungry, blue is calm. But I think there's a lot more to that. Like Jolene, when you're working on TBC, like is the psychological part or behavioral part of the consideration?
Yes, of course. But the thing is, again, the Trend Beyond Colors was very focused on making sure that the colors that we choose or the colors that we curate actually helps you simulate within the environment that you're in. So for example, if you are painting your living room, right? And if your living room is basically a space where you already have furniture and everything, and all you need to do is just kind of create a different look, you can use paint. But what kind of effect do you want? You can use, you can use, let's just say white everywhere, but it doesn't give you a calming feeling. So you can actually look into, if you look at nature, of course, nature is all greens, but nature is also inclusive of the sky. It's also inclusive of the ground, the earth, so you have blue, green, and brown, let's just say. But those elements are the one that inspires you to then bring it back into the color choices of your walls. So you can actually use that, because the psychological effect of experiencing those elements can be represented through colors. So yes, true, red does represent angry, but red also does represent energy, for example. Blue does represent calmness, but blue is also a color where when you look at the sky, you see beyond, you open up your eyes and see more than just what you've been seeing in the room. So it's, at the end of the day, is how does it affect you? So as designers, what is the effect that you want to leave behind for the people who's going to be experiencing that space? So again, in color psychology is a huge thing, and it's going to be always a huge thing, because at the end of the day, it helps us understand colors a little bit better. But the difference here is that as designers, we have more than just effects to play with. We have so many other considerations. So it's a wholesome thing that you need to look into. It's not just one portion and say, okay, if I paint this wall blue, this entire office will be all calm. But then the backlash is that everybody is too calm. Nobody's energetic. Nobody is, all there and energized to be in a brainstorm session. So you also need to make sure that the blue must play the right role. So over here, color psychology is about the role of the color in affecting the users or the person that's in that space.
Yeah. So I guess from what I hear, or from what I understand about behavior as well, I guess we, as designers, we need to first have an intention in mind. What do we want this space to do for people? Whether it's a productivity space, or it's a relaxing space, or it's a space for you to fight, I don't know. But the study of color psychology is really how certain colors, as part of the environment, not just colors, including the finishes, the design, the lighting, or the absence of lighting, right? And how it induces a certain type of behavior that you're hoping to bring out of people. We have more questions coming in. Give me a second. Yeah, thank you. The question, does culture of a community affect the exterior lighting of buildings?
Sorry, the culture of a
Does
community.
the culture of a community affect the exterior lighting of buildings? Let me try to understand this question.
Allow us to dissect that too. I'm not sure if we understand you correctly, but I think the exterior itself is an environment of its own. It doesn't matter what kind of community is around it, but again, how do you then consider your environment? So of course, the environment, like what Wei Ling has also shared earlier, UV exposure is just one part of it, one component where you need to make sure that the color performance is long lasting and all those things. But the thing is, you also want to make sure that your building is it part of the community? And if it is part of the community, how do you then make sure the color palette that you're dealing with is complementary rather than contrasting?
Yeah.
So
I just, maybe I'll dissect this from another perspective. Okay, so the word here, I think community or culture of community, it really depends. For example, if I am a beach, right? So it matters whether I am a conservation area where I have to have very little lights so that I can get marine turtles to come and do their nesting, right? For that, you cannot have light pollution. But if I'm looking at a tourism area, like another touristy beach, then there will be a lot of parties and lighting going. So I guess when it comes to that, in terms of different communities and different function and context, yes, it will affect how brightly lit or how dimly lit in terms of the lighting of our buildings. So I hope I understand the question correctly. Yeah.
Even if you don't, please write to Brendan. We'll try and answer you.
Yeah, we're totally you can always follow up with me. I'm more than happy to break it down. Let me just see if I have any more questions. Okay, say I am a student or lecturer interested in learning more about colors and coatings. Where can I get this sort of information and insights?
Through this IDA webinar. Sorry, I'm promoting IDA. But
yeah. No, I guess this is a question to me. I guess it's not. I guess for those who are wondering if you're a student or lecturer and you want to learn more about these, honestly, I'm the organizer. So you just need to reach out to us on social media. We're available on LinkedIn, Instagram, Discord, whatever, and then you let me know or let us know what would you like to learn, so that I can claw Wei Ling and Jolene. Like the fact that we curated the session today on industry coatings and how the performance is and how it works with colors and lighting and how it induces behavior, it all comes from a lot of students and lecturers told us that these are topics of interest. For example, I think the next one is very much on sustainability, and then there's another one later in the year. We curate based on what you would like to learn. So if color is something you want to learn more and more, I guess Wei Ling and Jolene will have to work more. And we'll, of course, invite speakers from around the world to also contribute to this topic of interest. So generally, that's how we work. If you are in IDA long enough, you will know my face. I'm like here all the time. I think I will work on IDA until the day I retire. So yeah, so I'm really happy that everyone can just throw out things you would like to learn, even if it's color psychology, even if it's lighting specifically, even if it's behavior specifically. Yeah. So I think that would be all. Wei Ling and Jolene, anything you'd like to add? Like maybe we've missed out any points that you'd like to, or like any last words of encouragement to our students who want to join this year's awards or just practicing architects in general?
Wei Ling? Do you want to say anything?
No,
I do have something.
Too broad a topic.
Yeah, too broad. No, but before we go into that, I do have this thing. Wei Ling, I think I've asked you this, but it wasn't captured on video. I'm just curious. So I know you've been in the industry for a while and you work with a lot of architects and specifiers. What is the few like common mistakes young architects and young specifiers always make that you think that they can pay more attention to? Yeah.
We can't really say a mistake that
Oh,
is
sorry. Okay,
it
I don't use
or
the word
whatever,
mistake.
right?
Yeah.
It is no, it
How
is
can they do
nothing to
better?
be,
Yeah.
yeah, it's nothing to be right or wrong regarding the colors. It's just that how the purpose that you are using for this and what is the expectation
Mm,
on or at the end of the day, because if let's just say that the expectation is just uh, on the design and attractive and for the innovation or creativity, then you can play all around with all the colors. It's just that need to bear in mind that yep, some of the colors it's really has the limitation on the on the color or long lasting or the age of the colors itself. So we just need to just take a little bit in deep of the look on it on the if let's just say that you can have more stable color and maybe your clients need to have only on the protection, then you may choose on the stables of mm, more stable color, we
mm,
can say, right? And if let's just say that it's just for need to change the outlook or every 2 years or three, then you
mm,
can just play around with your creativity.
mm.
It's very dependent, yeah.
Okay, understand. So it's about setting the right expectation before we go into picking the kind of paint and coating and color system that we want. Got it. Another question just came in. Any last tips on how to be practically creative or creatively practical? Jolene, this is your word, so the ball's to you.
Okay, so to be practically creative, I think the last tips I will leave here with you guys is that at the end of the day, we can imagine everything and anything. You know, we can do anything we want, you know, especially when we're designing on a software. There are a lot of things that we can do. But at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, you are designing for something that's happening in reality. You are designing something that's supposed to be in the real world. So when you want to be, when you want to push it, you want to push the boundaries of how creative you want to be, it's always important to understand simple foundations, you know, the basics of how things are, the basic understanding of materials, the simple basic understanding of different substrates, the construction methods, and that's of course inclusive of colors and coatings. So when you have a better understanding, then you know how to be, then you know where to push, you know how practical you want to be, which leads to being creatively practical, because when you are able to understand, you have you know how to go around things and all those, you will then be creative with while respecting boundaries, you know, because we wish, you know, that materials will behave however we want it to be, but the thing is in reality it doesn't. So if you understand better, you will design better, you will make better decisions. Of course, in our topic we talk about colors and coatings, right? Unfortunately, there is no Bible for you to say that, okay, you need to learn these 300 pages, you know, of things, then you will become the ultimate designer. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because even like for Wei Ling and me, we've been working in the paint industry for years and we are still learning. You know, there's always new technology, there's always new challenges. So it's always keeping yourself updated, knowing what's out there, accepting that things will change, things can evolve, and you know you are ready to be how you say, you're ready to understand why those changes happen, and then you can then again be practical and be creative. Okay, so we of course don't expect anyone, you know, to learn everything in universities and then after that graduate, and you know when you go out in the real world you know everything. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So always be ready to learn, because honestly that's why I love my job as well, because every day I'm still learning new things. Even having a conversation with Wei Ling, you know, I'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that, oh, I didn't see it that way. You know, so always have an open mind, you know, always see things from different perspectives. That itself will help you see things a lot better.
Yeah. So I think it's also understanding your career progression as a young architect and as how you progress. Because I heard from our alumnus from IDA as well, when they first started, I mean, they graduated from university, they've done the IDA journey, and then when they started working, they only get to design one thing out of the whole master project. They only get to do one thing, right? I mean, that's how a lot of us start. We do something small within a bigger ecosystem, we get better, and we expand slowly. So the more knowledge and expertise we have across different buckets of expertise, like colors and coatings, lighting and behavior, for example, the easier for you to pick up new concepts and learn new solutions when it comes to design. So for those who are interested in joining IDA this year, every geographical location, we are in 17. Yes, wait.
Are we 17?
No, we're 50 geographical locations and growing every year. So yeah, check with your respective lecturers and also our IDA champions from around the world. Our Nippon Paint teams are always passionate about running this project with you. So you can reach out to them for more information. You can download the entry kit, the competition brief from our website, and then you can learn more about it. And if you have questions, we are also available on social media. So on behalf of IDA Awards, I'd like to thank Nippon Paint, Wei Ling and Jolene for taking their time out to help us understand their work and their perspective of how colors and coatings work in the real world. So bravo to Wei Ling and Jolene. Thank you so much once again for your time. I am sure I will be haunting you again down the road for more in-depth conversations and maybe creating teaching materials. Not teaching, I wouldn't say teaching, educational materials for our lecturers around the world so that they can help our students grow and help us raise socially conscious designers. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day. I will see everyone on our social media. Bye, Jolene. Bye, Wei Ling.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.